The mystery of subjective experience. Imagine waking up tomorrow unable to feel anything. No emotions, no sensations, no awareness. Would you still be you? What if you could still move through your daily routines, speak coherently, and respond appropriately to stimuli, but without any inner life? Without the rich tapestry of thoughts, feelings, and perceptions that define what it means to exist as a conscious being? This unsettling thought experiment plunges us into one of the most profound mysteries humanity has ever grappled with: the nature of subjective experience. Consciousness is often described as the hard problem of science because it resists easy explanation. While we can map brain activity and understand neural networks, explaining why these processes give rise to experience remains elusive. Think of it like a symphony. The notes, neurons firing, are measurable, but the music, subjectivity, is intangible. If consciousness cannot be fully explained by physical processes, does that suggest dualism, a separation between mind and body? Or could consciousness emerge from complexity alone, like water emerging from hydrogen and oxygen? These questions challenge our understanding of reality and even blur the line between life and non-life. As intriguing as the mystery of subjective experience is, it leads naturally to another profound question: how do we know if others are conscious at all? We assume that friends, family members, and strangers share similar inner lives, but what evidence supports this belief? After all, we only ever directly experience our own consciousness. Everyone else's remains inaccessible, inferred from outward signs like speech, facial expressions, and actions. This uncertainty gives rise to one of philosophy's most unsettling thought experiments: the problem of other minds. Let's delve deeper into this conundrum and explore its implications for our understanding of consciousness and ourselves. The problem of other minds. Have you ever wondered if the people around you truly think and feel as you do? Could they simply be sophisticated automatons mimicking human behavior? Welcome to the philosophical abyss known as the problem of other minds. At the heart of human interaction lies an unspoken assumption that the people around us, our families, friends, colleagues, and even strangers, are conscious beings who experience thoughts, emotions, and sensations much like we do. But what if this assumption is flawed? What if, despite appearances, others lack an inner life altogether? This unsettling possibility forms the crux of one of philosophy's most enduring puzzles: the problem of other minds. To understand this paradox, we must first grapple with solipsism, a radical philosophical stance that posits only one's own mind can be known to exist with certainty. Solipsism argues that everything outside your direct awareness, the words spoken by others, the smiles exchanged during conversations, the tears shed in moments of grief, could all be elaborate fabrications, devoid of genuine intent or emotion. In essence, you are alone in a universe of your own creation, surrounded by actors playing roles dictated by forces unseen. While few embrace solipsism outright due to its extreme implications, it highlights a fundamental epistemological challenge. How can we truly know that other minds exist? Unlike physical objects, which can be observed, measured, and tested, consciousness is inherently private. You cannot step inside another person's head to verify their subjective experiences. Instead, you rely on indirect evidence, facial expressions, vocal tones, behavioral patterns to infer the presence of an inner life. But inference is not proof. It leaves room for doubt, however small, about whether the people around you possess minds at all. If we can't verify others' consciousness, then morality itself hinges on faith. Do ethical obligations extend to beings whose inner lives we can't confirm? And what about artificial intelligence? Are robots deserving of rights if they simulate sentience convincingly enough? Speaking of AI, let's turn our attention to a theory that suggests none of us may actually exist independently. What if everything you perceive, including yourself, is part of a grand simulation? The simulation hypothesis. The simulation hypothesis, one of the most provocative ideas in modern philosophy and science, challenges the very foundation of our understanding of reality. At its core, this hypothesis suggests that what we perceive as the real world might actually be an artificial construct, a meticulously designed simulation akin to a highly advanced video game. First articulated by philosopher Nick Bostrom in his seminal 2003 paper, Are You Living in a Computer Simulation? The theory posits three possibilities, at least one of which must be true. Almost all civilizations capable of creating such simulations go extinct before reaching the necessary technological level. Even if civilizations reach this level, they choose not to run large numbers of ancestor simulations for ethical or practical reasons. We are almost certainly living in a simulation. While each possibility carries profound implications, it is the third option that captures the imagination and unease of many. If we accept the premise that sufficiently advanced civilizations could create simulations indistinguishable from reality, then statistically speaking, the odds favor us being inhabitants of one such simulation rather than the original base reality. After all, once a civilization achieves the ability to simulate entire universes, it could theoretically spawn countless iterations, vastly outnumbering any real worlds. To visualize this concept, imagine a future where humanity has developed computers so powerful that they can emulate every atom, molecule, and interaction within a universe. These simulated environments would be so immersive that their inhabitants, us, would have no way of discerning the difference between their virtual existence and an external, true reality. In essence, we might be characters in a hyper-realistic video game, unaware of the code running beneath the surface. Every star, planet, tree, and human consciousness could simply be data points manipulated by an unseen programmer. If true, this hypothesis undermines our sense of agency and purpose. Are our choices meaningful if they're pre-programmed? And who, or what, is controlling the simulation? These questions force us to confront the fragility of perceived reality. But what if the simulation isn't external? What if your own mind creates the illusion of reality through perception filters? To explore this, let's dive into the fascinating world of qualia and sensory deception. Qualia and the illusion of reality. Qualia, the term philosophers use to describe the raw, subjective qualities of experience, are among the most elusive and fascinating aspects of consciousness. They are the ineffable building blocks of perception, the what it is like to encounter the world. Consider the taste of chocolate, rich, velvety, sweet, with a subtle bitterness that lingers on your tongue. Now imagine describing this sensation to someone who has never tasted anything before. No matter how precise your words or vivid your metaphors, you cannot convey the exact essence of what makes chocolate uniquely itself. This gap between description and direct experience lies at the heart of qualia. Qualia encompass everything we perceive through our senses: colors, sounds, textures, smells, tastes, as well as internal states like pain, pleasure, or the feeling of déjà vu. These experiences feel immediate and undeniable, yet they resist objective measurement or universal agreement. For instance, When two people look at the same patch of blue sky, both might agree that it appears blue, but there's no way to confirm whether their internal experiences of blue match. One person's blue could be closer to violet in hue, while another's leans toward turquoise, and neither would ever know unless they somehow swapped perceptions. This variability highlights the profound divide between objective reality and subjective sensation. Objective measurements rely on observable data, wavelengths of light for color, decibel levels for sound, chemical compositions for flavors. Yet, these metrics tell us nothing about the personal, qualitative dimension of experience. A spectrometer can identify the wavelength corresponding to red, approximately 650 nanometers, but it cannot capture the warmth, vibrancy, or emotional resonance that humans associate with the color. Similarly, a microphone records sound waves, but it cannot replicate the joy sparked by laughter or the melancholy stirred by a haunting melody. The concept of qualia challenges the assumption that sensory input provides an unfiltered window into the external world. Instead, our brains act as intermediaries, translating raw data into meaningful patterns tailored to our survival needs. Evolution has equipped us with mechanisms to prioritize certain stimuli over others. For example, detecting movement quickly to avoid predators or recognizing faces to foster social bonds. However, this selective processing also introduces distortions, biases, and blind spots. What we perceive is not necessarily what exists. Rather, it is a constructed narrative shaped by biology, culture, and individual history. If qualia vary across individuals, how reliable is our shared understanding of reality? Could entire dimensions of existence elude us due to limitations in human perception? This notion casts doubt on the objectivity of truth itself. Our senses shape our version of reality. But what happens when those senses fail us entirely? Let's examine the bizarre phenomenon of blindsight, where individuals see without seeing. Blindsight and perceptual ghosts. What makes blindsight particularly fascinating and unsettling is its implications for our assumptions about perception. We tend to equate sight with awareness, believing that if we don't consciously register an image, it simply doesn't exist within our field of experience. But blindsight demonstrates that the brain can process visual information and guide behavior without bringing it into conscious awareness. It's as though there's a ghost in the machine, a hidden layer of cognition that operates independently of our subjective experience. This raises profound questions about the nature of perception and consciousness. If actions can unfold without awareness, how much of what we consider us is truly under our control? And if the brain can function so effectively without conscious input, what purpose does awareness serve? To explore these mysteries further, let's delve deeper into the mechanics of blindsight and uncover the secrets of this peculiar phenomenon. To understand blindsight, we must first examine the architecture of the human visual system. Vision begins in the eyes, where photoreceptor cells in the retina convert light into electrical signals. These signals travel along the optic nerve to various regions of the brain, each specializing in different aspects of visual processing. The primary visual cortex, located in the occipital lobe, plays a central role in creating the vivid, detailed images we associate with conscious sight. When this area sustains damage, due to stroke, trauma, or degenerative diseases like glaucoma, it disrupts the flow of visual information, resulting in blindness. However, the visual pathway doesn't end with the primary visual cortex. Subcortical structures, such as the superior colliculus, pulvinar nucleus, and lateral geniculate nucleus, continue to receive and process visual data independently. These areas evolved earlier in mammalian history and are involved in reflexive responses to visual stimuli, such as tracking movement or orienting attention. Because they operate outside the realm of conscious awareness, their activity remains unaffected by damage to the visual cortex. This raises profound questions about the relationship between perception and consciousness. If actions can occur without awareness, how much of our daily lives unfold beyond conscious control? The interplay between action and awareness leads naturally to another puzzle: free will. Is the freedom to choose merely an illusion crafted by biology and environment? The paradox of free will. Few philosophical debates have sparked as much controversy and introspection as the question of free will. At its core, this paradox pits two opposing worldviews against each other: determinism and autonomy. Determinists argue that every decision we make is the inevitable result of prior causes, genetic predispositions, environmental influences, past experiences, and even the laws of physics. From this perspective, human behavior is akin to a domino effect. Once the first tile falls, the rest follow in an unbroken chain. In contrast, libertarians, not to be confused with political libertarians, champion the idea that humans possess genuine agency, the ability to act freely, independent of external constraints or predetermined outcomes. The tension between these perspectives creates what philosophers call the paradox of free will. If our actions are dictated by factors beyond our control, then the concept of moral responsibility becomes deeply problematic. After all, how can we hold someone accountable for choices they did not consciously make? Conversely, if free will does exist, how do we reconcile it with mounting evidence from neuroscience suggesting that many decisions are made subconsciously before we become aware of them? This conundrum forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about the nature of choice, accountability, and the self. The implications of the free will debate extend far beyond abstract philosophy, touching nearly every aspect of human life, from law and ethics to psychology and spirituality. At its heart lies a profound challenge to our understanding of accountability, justice, and personal identity. If free will is an illusion, accountability crumbles. Should criminals be punished if their actions were inevitable? Conversely, if free will exists, how do we reconcile it with neuroscience showing predictable brain patterns preceding decisions? The ship of Theseus and personal identity. The ship of Theseus is one of philosophy's oldest and most enduring thought experiments, originating in ancient Greece. Imagine a ship that has been meticulously maintained over centuries. As each plank deteriorates, it is replaced with a new, identical piece, until eventually none of the original planks remain. Is it still the same ship? Now consider this twist. If all the discarded planks were gathered and used to construct another vessel, which one, if either, truly embodies the original ship? This paradox extends far beyond wooden vessels. It strikes at the heart of what it means to endure over time and challenges our assumptions about identity, continuity, and change. When applied to human beings, the implications become profoundly personal. Our bodies undergo constant transformation. Cells regenerate, hair grows and falls out, bones remodel themselves, and even memories shift and fade. Despite these changes, we maintain a persistent sense of self, a feeling that we are the same person today as we were yesterday, last year, or decades ago. But why? What anchors this sense of continuity amidst ceaseless flux? One possible answer lies in physical form. Many people associate their identity with their body, their face, voice, fingerprints, DNA, all markers of individuality. Yet, scientific evidence reveals just how fluid this connection truly is. For example, nearly every cell in your body is replaced approximately every 7 years. Your skin sheds and regenerates, your stomach lining renews itself every few days, and even your skeleton undergoes continuous remodeling. If none of the material components of your body remain constant, can you still claim that your physical self defines who you are? This question becomes even more unsettling when applied to cloning or digital uploads. If your mind were transferred into a machine, would that entity truly be you? Or is identity an illusion maintained by narrative consistency? Speaking of narratives, our sense of self is deeply tied to the stories we tell ourselves about our lives. But what happens when those stories are disrupted or erased entirely? Let's delve into the haunting possibility of losing one's memory. Amnesia and the collapse of self. Memory is the invisible thread that weaves together the fabric of our identity. It allows us to recall the past, navigate the present, and envision the future. Without memory, we are adrift, untethered from the experiences, relationships, and aspirations that define who we are. The fragility of this connection becomes starkly apparent when studying individuals with amnesia, a condition characterized by the partial or complete loss of memory. Through their struggles, we glimpse how precarious the construct of self truly is. Amnesia manifests in various forms, each revealing different dimensions of memory's role in shaping identity. Retrograde amnesia, for instance, erases memories of events prior to the onset of the condition, leaving individuals unable to remember significant milestones like birthdays, weddings, or personal achievements. Anterograde amnesia, on the other hand, prevents the formation of new memories, effectively freezing someone in time. Imagine waking up every morning with no recollection of the previous day, a perpetual reset button pressed against your will. For those afflicted, life becomes a series of disjointed moments, devoid of continuity or progression. One of the most famous cases of amnesia is that of Henry Molaison, known as Patient HM in scientific literature. In an attempt to alleviate severe epilepsy, surgeons removed portions of his brain, including the hippocampus, a critical structure involved in forming new long-term memories. While the surgery succeeded in reducing seizures, it left HM unable to create new episodic memories. Despite retaining his intelligence, personality, and procedural skills, such as riding a bike, he lived in a perpetual state of disorientation, unable to recognize people he had met mere minutes earlier. His case underscored the distinction between different types of memory and highlighted just how dependent our sense of self is on the ability to retain and retrieve information. If memory defines identity, then each forgotten moment chips away at who we are. Does this mean the self is inherently unstable? And if so, can we ever truly know ourselves in a meaningful way? Memory connects us to our past selves. But what about connecting to something greater than ourselves? Could quantum entanglement offer clues about interconnectedness beyond individual consciousness? Quantum entanglement and collective consciousness. Quantum entanglement, often described as spooky action at a distance, is one of the most enigmatic phenomena in modern physics. It occurs when two or more particles become so deeply interconnected that the state of one particle instantaneously influences the state of the other, regardless of the distance separating them. This phenomenon defies classical intuitions about locality, the idea that objects can only affect their immediate surroundings, and has challenged scientists to rethink the fundamental nature of reality. At its core, Quantum entanglement suggests a profound interconnectedness at the subatomic level. When particles are entangled, they behave as though they share a single, unified existence, transcending the boundaries of space and time. For example, if you measure the spin of one entangled particle and find it to be up, the other particle's spin will instantaneously register as down, even if it's on the opposite side of the universe. This instantaneous correlation cannot be explained by any known mechanism, leaving physicists to grapple with the implications of non-locality. What makes quantum entanglement particularly intriguing is its potential resonance with philosophical questions about consciousness. Some theorists have speculated that the principles underlying entanglement might extend beyond the realm of particles to encompass human thought and awareness. Could our minds, like entangled particles, be part of a universal field of consciousness, a shared dimension where thoughts and emotions resonate across unseen dimensions? If collective consciousness exists, it could explain phenomena like telepathy or shared intuition. However, it also raises ethical questions. Are we responsible for the well-being of others' minds as much as our own? While quantum theories stretch the boundaries of science, some ideas push further into the metaphysical realm. What if death isn't the end, but merely a transition to another state of existence? Near-death experiences and afterlife hypotheses. Near-death experiences, NDEs, have captivated human imagination for centuries, appearing in religious texts, folklore, and personal testimonies across cultures. These extraordinary episodes occur when individuals are clinically dead or on the brink of death, only to be revived later with vivid accounts of journeys beyond the physical realm. Common elements include feelings of detachment from the body, encounters with radiant beings, traversals through tunnels of light, and overwhelming sensations of peace and love. While NDEs vary widely in detail, their consistency across diverse populations and historical periods suggests a shared phenomenon that transcends individual perception. Scientific efforts to explain NDEs often focus on physiological and neurological mechanisms. One prominent theory attributes these experiences to oxygen deprivation, which can trigger hallucinatory phenomena as the brain struggles to maintain function under duress. Similarly, stress-induced surges of neurotransmitters like endorphins and serotonin may produce euphoria, altered states of consciousness, and vivid imagery. Another hypothesis points to temporal lobe activity, suggesting that electrical disturbances in this region could simulate out-of-body sensations and mystical visions. Some researchers even propose that NDEs result from a survival mechanism, an evolutionary adaptation designed to reduce fear of death by offering comforting illusions during life-threatening situations. If consciousness survives death, it fundamentally alters our understanding of life's purpose. On the other hand, dismissing NDEs as purely physiological challenges us to confront mortality head-on. Whether or not consciousness persists after death, its origins remain equally mysterious. How did subjective experience arise in a universe seemingly governed by impersonal laws? Let's examine the evolutionary roots of awareness. Evolutionary origins of consciousness. Consciousness, with all its complexity and mystery, did not emerge in a vacuum. It is a product of billions of years of evolutionary processes, shaped by natural selection, genetic drift, and environmental pressures. To understand how subjective experience arose from inert matter, we must first consider the adaptive advantages that might have driven its development. While no single theory fully explains the origins of consciousness, two dominant schools of thought provide compelling frameworks for exploration. The first perspective posits that self-awareness evolved as a tool to enhance survival and reproduction. Proponents of this view argue that consciousness conferred significant benefits in navigating complex social environments and solving novel problems. Early humans lived in groups where cooperation was essential for hunting, gathering, and defending against predators. Self-awareness allowed individuals to recognize themselves as distinct entities within these social structures, fostering empathy, reciprocity, and moral reasoning. Knowing "I am me" enabled early hominins to anticipate others' intentions, form alliances, and engage in long-term planning, all critical skills for thriving in cooperative societies. For example, mirror neurons, a class of brain cells activated both when performing an action and observing someone else perform it, are thought to play a key role in this process. These neurons create a neural basis for understanding others' actions and emotions, laying the groundwork for social cognition. Similarly, the ability to simulate future scenarios, if I do X, then Y will happen, likely emerged as a way to navigate uncertain environments, allowing our ancestors to weigh risks and rewards before committing to action. Over time, these cognitive tools gave rise to increasingly sophisticated forms of awareness, culminating in the rich tapestry of human consciousness. Understanding the evolutionary basis of consciousness helps demystify its role, but also highlights its potential limitations. Did evolution prioritize efficiency over accuracy, leading to cognitive biases and blind spots? As we ponder the origins of consciousness, we must also grapple with its ultimate destiny. Will technology someday allow us to transcend the limits of biology altogether? Let's conclude with a look at the future of mind and machine. Mind uploading and the post-human era. The idea of mind uploading, transferring the contents of a human brain into a digital substrate, is one of the most radical visions of humanity's future. It represents the culmination of centuries of technological progress, blending neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and computer engineering into a bold experiment aimed at transcending biological limitations. Proponents envision this process as the next logical step in evolution, enabling humans to shed their fragile mortal bodies and exist indefinitely within virtual realms or synthetic constructs. Skeptics, however, caution against the profound ethical dilemmas and existential risks posed by such an endeavor. At its core, mind uploading involves replicating the intricate architecture of the human brain, its billions of neurons, trillions of synapses, and countless connections, into a digital format. This would require mapping every aspect of neural activity, from electrical impulses to chemical interactions, with unprecedented precision. Once digitized, the resulting simulation could theoretically mimic the original consciousness, retaining memories, personality traits, and cognitive abilities. In essence, it promises immortality, not of the body, but of the mind. Imagine waking up tomorrow inside a virtual environment indistinguishable from reality. You'd still think, feel, and perceive as you always have, except now your existence would be untethered from physical constraints. Aging, disease, and death, the great equalizers of human life, would become relics of the past. Instead of living for decades, you could persist for centuries, exploring infinite possibilities across vast simulated worlds. The allure of such a prospect is undeniable, offering solutions to some of humanity's oldest fears and aspirations. Would a digital copy of you still be you? Could uploaded minds retain emotions, creativity, and free will? As we stand on the brink of such transformations, we face profound existential questions about what it means to be human. Take a moment to reflect on these ideas before drifting off. Consciousness remains one of the greatest mysteries of existence, both intimate and infinite. Perhaps the answers lie not outside, but within. The quiet whispers of your own mind as you surrender to sleep.